My childhood bully sent me an apology letter 20 years later, but it wasn't to make amends. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday with no return address, just my name and apartment number written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was 3 pages of notebook paper, the kind with the blue lines we used in middle school. Dear Marcus, it started. I know this is probably the last thing you expected to receive from me. It's Brandon, from Lincoln Middle School. I've been thinking about what I did to you back then, and I need to say I'm sorry. I sat at my kitchen table reading through his apology. He mentioned specific incidents I'd tried to forget. The time he pushed me into the pool during gym class, even though I'd told him I couldn't swim. The day he spread that rumor about my mom. How he'd steal my lunch money every Thursday for an entire semester. But here's what made me pause. He included details that were wrong. He apologized for pushing me off the bleachers during a basketball game. That never happened. He mentioned tripping me in the cafeteria on pizza day. We only had pizza on Wednesdays, and he definitely didn't trip me that day. I would have dismissed it as faulty memory, except the letter ended with something strange. I'm getting my life together now. Actually just moved back to town last month. Living over on Oakwood Drive near the old arcade we used to go to. Would be great to meet up sometime and make things right. Hope you're still at the same place on Riverside. I'd never lived on Riverside. I grew up on Maple Street and lived there until I was 18. And Lincoln Middle School didn't have an arcade nearby. There was a bowling alley, but that was on the opposite side of town from Oakwood Drive. I tried looking up Brandon online, but found nothing. No social media, no public records in our town. It's like he didn't exist. I called my older brother Dave and asked if he remembered Brandon from my middle school years. There was a long pause. Marcus, you didn't go to Lincoln Middle School. You went to Roosevelt. And I don't remember you ever mentioning anyone named Brandon. I hung up, my hands shaking. I'd gone to Lincoln. I remembered the blue lockers, Mrs. Patterson's math class, the smell of the gym. But when I pulled out my yearbooks from the boxes in my closet, they all said Roosevelt Middle School on the cover. My 8th grade photo showed me standing in front of a brick building I didn't recognize. The teachers' names were all wrong. None of my memories matched the evidence. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Hey Marcus, it's Brandon. Did you get my letter? We should really talk soon. It's important. I didn't respond. But the texts kept coming over the next 3 days. Each one was friendly but increasingly urgent. Really need to hear from you. There's something you should know about 7th grade. Do you remember what really happened that day? The messages referenced events I had no memory of. A field trip to some museum. A project we supposedly worked on together. A teacher named Mr. Callahan who I'd never heard of. I started going through old photos, looking for proof of my memories, but every single picture told a different story than what I remembered. The friend I could have sworn was named Jessica was actually named Amanda, according to the writing on the back. The birthday party I remembered being at the skating rink was clearly at a park. Then other letters started arriving. Different handwriting, different names, but all claiming to be people from my past wanting to apologize or reconnect. Every single one included details that didn't match my memory, but matched the evidence in my yearbooks and photos. On the 7th day, I got a phone call from a number with my area code. When I answered, a woman's voice said, Marcus Brennan, this is Dr. Sarah Chen from Riverside Memory Institute. I think we need to schedule an appointment to discuss your treatment. I'd never been to any memory institute. I told her she had the wrong person. There was a pause. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. Marcus, you've been a patient here for 6 months. The integration therapy is showing some resistance. We need to see you right away before the constructed memories fully deteriorate. I hung up and immediately drove to the address she'd given. The building was real, a medical facility on the north side of town, and when I walked into the lobby, the receptionist looked up and smiled. Mr. Brennan, we've been trying to reach you. Dr. Chen is ready to see you now. I followed her down a hallway lined with doors. Through one of them, I saw a man who looked exactly like the Brandon from my memories sitting in a waiting room chair. He looked up when I passed, and his expression wasn't apologetic. It was scared. The receptionist opened the last door at the end of the hall and gestured for me to enter. That's when I saw what was really waiting inside. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I back away from the door, my heart hammering in my chest. Inside the room is a chair with restraints, surrounded by medical equipment I don't recognize. Screens display brain scans labeled with my name. And there, on a small table next to the chair, is a metal device that looks like a crown with electrodes attached. Mr. Brennan, please come in. There's nothing to be afraid of, Dr. Chen says, stepping into view from behind a partition. Her smile is professional, but her eyes are watching me with clinical interest, like I'm an experiment producing unexpected results. I turn and run. Behind me, I hear Dr. Chen's voice, calm but urgent. Security to floor 3. Patient Marcus Brennan is experiencing disorientation. Approach with caution. The hallway stretches before me, suddenly alien and threatening. I pass the room where I saw Brandon, but he's no longer there. I catch glimpses through other doors. Patients sitting quietly, some with similar electrode devices on their heads, others staring blankly at screens showing what look like family photos. A security guard rounds the corner ahead of me. Mr. Brennan, he calls, hands raised in a placating gesture. We're here to help. You're having an episode. I dodge past him, shoulder slamming into the wall as I take the corner too fast. Another guard appears at the end of the corridor. I spot a stairwell sign and crash through the door, taking the steps 2 at a time. Dr. Chen's voice comes over the intercom. Attention all staff. Riverside Memory Institute is now in lockdown protocol. This is not a drill. Patient Marcus Brennan requires immediate assistance. He may be experiencing severe memory destabilization. I reach the ground floor, breathless, and push through the door into a lobby I don't recognize. It's not the same entrance I came through earlier. The receptionist behind the desk stands immediately, blocking my path to the glass doors beyond. Marcus, she says, please calm down. Dr. Chen just wants to help stabilize your memories. You agreed to this treatment. I shake my head. I never agreed to anything. I don't even know what this place is. I make for the exit doors, but when I push against them, they don't budge. A small red light blinks on the electronic lock. The building is sealed. The receptionist is speaking into a phone now, her eyes never leaving me. I hear footsteps on the stairs behind me, security catching up. I scan the lobby desperately and spot a hallway marked supply to my right. I sprint down it, trying doors as I go. Most are locked, but one opens to a supply closet. I slip inside just as I hear the security team enter the hallway. Check every room, a man's voice orders. Dr. Chen wants him found immediately. The integration is failing. I press myself against the back wall of the closet, behind shelves of medical supplies. My breathing sounds impossibly loud in the small space. As footsteps approach, my hand brushes against something a cabinet built into the wall. I pull it open silently. Inside are rows of files, patient files. I grab one at random and open it in the dim light filtering through the door crack. My blood freezes. The photo clip to the file shows my face, but the name reads Jeremy Walters. The biographical information describes a life I've never lived, a childhood in Seattle, parents named Robert and Susan, a career as an accountant, but it's unmistakably my face staring back from the photo. I grab another file, again, my face, but this one says Thomas Miller, born in Chicago, history of trauma related to military service. I frantically flip through more files, all with my face, all with different names, different lives, different memories. Then I find it, a thicker file labeled Primary Integration Subject, Marcus Brennan. I open it with trembling hands. Inside are photos of me, real photos from different stages of my life, but there are notes attached to each one, clinical observations about memory consolidation and identity reinforcement. One photo shows me at Roosevelt Middle School, but there's a note. Subject continues to resist Roosevelt integration. Lincoln Middle School construct remains dominant despite countermeasures. I flip further and find medical charts, brain scans, and a document titled Consent for Experimental Memory Reconstruction Therapy. At the bottom is my signature, dated 6 months ago, but I have no memory of ever signing it. There's a transcript of an interview. Dr. Chen, do you understand that this procedure will alter your existing memories? Marcus, yes. I can't live with these memories anymore. I need them gone. Dr. Chen, and you understand we'll be constructing a new narrative to replace the traumatic memories? Marcus, will I remember any of this? The real past? Dr. Chen, no. That's the point of the treatment. Complete replacement. Voices outside the closet snap me back to my current danger. Most successful integration we've had, Dr. Chen is saying, her voice just outside the door. If we lose him now, we lose 6 months of data. The memory implantation was nearly perfect until those letters triggered recognition patterns. What about the friend? Brandon, a male voice asks. He was supposed to help with the reinforcement. The apology letter was designed to strengthen the false narrative, but he deviated from the script, mentioned details that weren't in the constructed memory set. Should we tell Marcus the truth? Absolutely not, Dr. Chen says firmly. The trauma that brought him here was catastrophic. If those memories resurface without proper preparation, we could lose him entirely. Their voices fade as they continue down the hall. I'm left clutching the file, my entire reality crumbling around me. Nothing I remember is real. Not Lincoln Middle School, not Brandon bullying me, not my childhood on Maple Street. But if those aren't my real memories, what actually happened to me? What was so traumatic that I chose to erase it completely? I need to get out of here. I stuff the file into my jacket and search the closet for another exit. Behind a tall shelf, I discover a small maintenance access door. It takes some effort, but I manage to pry it open, revealing a narrow tunnel with pipes running along the ceiling. As I squeeze into the passage, alarms begin blaring throughout the building. They've discovered I'm missing. The tunnel is dark and cramped, forcing me to crawl on hands and knees past junction boxes and electrical panels. It smells of dust and mildew, but ahead I can see a faint light. I emerge into what looks like a basement parking garage. Emergency lights flash, casting eerie red shadows across concrete pillars. A sign points to a vehicle exit ramp. I run toward it, the file clutched against my chest. Alarms still screaming behind me. As I reach the exit, I glance back at the building that houses the Riverside Memory Institute. From the outside, it looks like any other medical facility. Clean, professional, ordinary. But I now know what happens inside those walls. They're rewriting people's minds, replacing memories, creating new identities. And I was their willing patient. I turn and run into the night, desperate to get back to my apartment, the one I now realize is actually on Riverside, just as all those letters said. I need to figure out what's real, what's constructed, and most importantly, what happened to me that was so terrible I chose to forget who I really am. I make it back to my apartment building in a daze, constantly checking over my shoulder. Every car that slows down makes my heart race. The file from the Institute is clutched against my chest like a shield. Though I'm not sure what I'm protecting anymore, my memories are the truth about their absence. When I reach my building, I stare up at it like I've never seen it before. The sign clearly says, Riverside Apartments. How did I never notice that? I've been getting mail addressed to this place for, how long? 6 months, according to that file. Inside my apartment, everything looks familiar and foreign at the same time. I drop the file on my coffee table and pace the rooms, touching objects, opening drawers, looking for something, anything that might trigger a real memory. In my bedroom closet, I find a stack of yearbooks I don't remember owning. I pull them out with trembling hands and flip to the 8th grade class photos. There I am, smiling awkwardly with braces at Roosevelt Middle School, not Lincoln. The blue lockers I remember so vividly don't appear anywhere in these photos. And there, just 3 rows below my picture, is Brandon. Not the menacing bully of my memories, but a skinny kid with glasses and a shy smile. We're even standing together in a club photo, Science Olympiad, arms around each other's shoulders, grinning. This can't be real, I whisper, but the evidence is right in front of me. My phone rings, making me jump. It's a number I don't recognize, but I answer anyway, desperate for any connection to reality. Marcus? The voice is familiar. Brandon, what do you want? My voice comes out harsher than I intended. Dr. Chen called me. She said you ran from the Institute. He sounds genuinely worried. Are you okay? Am I okay? I laugh, the sound bordering on hysteria. I just found out my entire life is a lie, that my memories were manufactured in some lab. So no, Brandon, I'm not okay. I know this is confusing, he says carefully, but you're experiencing a traumatic memory break. You've been through this before. The letters, they were part of your treatment. They were supposed to help you slowly reintegrate, but something went wrong. Reintegrate what? My actual memories? He sighs. Marcus, we've been friends since we were kids. I was never your bully. That was part of the constructed narrative, a way to process what actually happened to you. You agreed to the treatment, so you're in on it too, I say, flipping through more more yearbook pages, finding more photos of us together. Field trips, basketball games, graduation. You've been helping them mess with my head. I've been helping you heal, he corrects gently. You asked me to be part of this. You made me promise to help you through it no matter what. Before I can respond, I hear a notification from my mail slot. More letters. I drop the phone without hanging up and go to retrieve them, my hands shaking as I tear open the first envelope. Dear Marcus, I don't know if you remember me, but we were lab partners in Mr. Callahan's biology class at Roosevelt. I heard you were back in town and wanted to reconnect. Those frog dissection disasters were some of my favorite memories from middle school. Hope you're doing well. Amanda, not Jessica. The photo from the yearbook confirms it. The girl I remembered as Jessica was actually named Amanda. I open another letter. Marcus, it's been too long, man. Brandon told me you might not remember much from our Roosevelt days due to your accident, but I wanted to reach out anyway. Remember that time we all got detention for setting off the fire alarm during the museum field trip? Worth it just to see Mr. Callahan's face? Let's grab a beer sometime. Chris, museum field trip, Mr. Callahan. More details that contradict my memories, but match what Brandon mentioned in his texts. I return to the phone. Brandon is still there, waiting patiently. What happened to me? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. What was so terrible that I chose to forget everything? I can't tell you that, he says. Dr. Chen says if the memories surface too quickly, it could cause a psychotic break. You need to go back to the institute. They can help you through this transition safely. I'm not going back there, I snap. They were erasing me. They were saving you, Brandon counters. Marcus, please, you're my best friend. I don't want to lose you again. Again, the word hangs between us. I need to figure this out on my own, I say finally, and hang up. I turn to my laptop and search for Riverside Memory Institute. The results show a legitimate medical research facility specializing in experimental treatments for trauma-induced dissociation and memory disorders. Their website has testimonials from patients who have apparently had their lives transformed. There's even a published paper by Dr. Sarah Chen on memory reconstruction therapy as an alternative to traditional PTSD treatment. My phone rings again. This time it's Dave. Marcus, he says when I answer. Thank God. Brandon called me. He said you're having another episode. Another? My throat tightens. This has happened before? Dave is quiet for a moment. 6 months ago was the worst. You didn't recognize any of us. You became violent, insisted we were all imposters. That's when you agreed to the treatment. Dave, tell me what happened to me. What am I trying to forget? I can't, he says, his voice breaking. I promised I wouldn't. Dr. Chen says you need to remember on your own or through the controlled environment at the institute. Did it have something to do with Brandon? In the file, it said they constructed him as a bully, but he claims we were friends. You were best friends, Dave confirms, since elementary school. He's been there for you through everything. After we hang up, I sit in silence, trying to process everything. My gaze drifts to the air vent near my ceiling. Something about it seems off. I grab a chair and examine it more closely. The screws are slightly loose, like it's been opened recently. I remove the vent cover and reach inside. My fingers touch plastic. I pull out several prescription bottles, all labeled with my name and Riverside Memory Institute. The medication is called Nemostable, with the description memory stabilizer, take as directed by Dr. Chen. The most recent bottle is nearly full. I haven't been taking them. As I'm staring at the pills, my phone buzzes with a voicemail notification. Dr. Chen's voice fills my ear. Marcus, I understand you're frightened and confused. What you're experiencing is a cascade failure of your constructed identity. The memories you thought were yours are dissolving, and without proper guidance, your original traumatic memories will return unfiltered. This could be catastrophic for your mental health. Please, come back to the institute. We can help you through this transition safely. Your real memories are trying to surface. Let us help you integrate them properly. I drop the phone like it's burned me. Constructed identity, real memories. What am I supposed to believe? I return to the file I took from the institute and spread the contents across my living room floor. Brain scans, consent forms, treatment notes. One document catches my eye, a timeline of my memory reconstruction. According to this, I've been living with false memories for exactly 6 months. Everything before that is, what? Real? Or just a different set of constructed memories? The more I read, the more terrified I become. Who am I really? And what happened that was so unbearable, I chose to become someone else entirely. My phone buzzes again with a text from Brandon. Whatever you do, don't try to force the memories. It could trigger a complete dissociative break. Please let us help you. But I'm done letting other people control my reality. Tomorrow, I'm going back to the institute, not as a patient, but as someone demanding answers. I need to know who Marcus Brennan really is. I stand outside the Riverside Memory Institute the next morning, clutching a coffee I haven't touched. The building looks different in daylight, less ominous, more clinical. Just a standard medical facility with its reflective windows and neat landscaping. But I know what happens inside those walls now. My hand trembles as I push through the front doors. The receptionist, the same woman who tried to stop me yesterday, looks up with alarm. Mr. Brennan, she says, reaching for her phone. Please wait while I tell Dr. Chen I'm here. I interrupt. I'm not running this time. I want answers. She hesitates, then makes the call. Within minutes, Dr. Chen emerges from a hallway, her professional smile firmly in place. She's wearing the same lab coat, her ID badge clipped to the pocket. Marcus, she says, extending her hand. I'm relieved you've come back. Why don't we talk in my office? I ignore her hand. I want to know what you did to me. Her smile doesn't falter, but her eyes dart to the security guard by the entrance. Of course, you deserve answers, but perhaps somewhere more private? I follow her down a corridor different from the one I fled through yesterday. The walls are lined with framed certificates and medical journal covers featuring Dr. Chen's research. Memory reconstruction, a new frontier in trauma treatment, reads one headline. Her office is spacious, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a small garden. Bookshelves line one wall, filled with medical texts. She gestures to a comfortable chair across from her desk. I assume you've read your file, she says as she sits down. I pull the folder from my bag and place it on her desk. Parts of it. Enough to know you've been manipulating my memories. Not manipulating, Marcus. Replacing. She folds her hands on the desk. There's an important distinction. Why would I agree to that? Dr. Chen sighs, then turns her computer monitor toward me. Perhaps it's better if you hear it from yourself. She clicks play on a video file. On screen is me, sitting in this same office, but I look different, thinner, with dark circles under my eyes and a haunted expression I barely recognize. State your name for the record, Dr. Chen's voice says off camera. Marcus Brennan, my recorded self responds, voice flat. And you're here voluntarily? Yes. Please explain, in your own words, why you're seeking memory replacement therapy. The man on screen, me, but not me, looks directly at the camera. I can't live with what happened. I've tried everything. Traditional therapy, EMDR, medication, nothing works. The nightmares won't stop. I can't function. I need these memories gone. I watch in stunned silence as my past self describes the experimental treatment. Dr. Chen has proposed complete memory reconstruction, replacing traumatic memories with constructed ones. You understand this is still experimental? Dr. Chen asks on the video. I understand the risks, Video Me responds. But living like this isn't living at all. Dr. Chen stops the video. You came to us 6 months ago, Marcus. You were suffering from severe PTSD and treatment-resistant depression following a catastrophic trauma. What trauma? I demand. What happened to me? She studies me carefully. Are you sure you want to know? Once these memories resurface, we can't put them back in the box. I need to know who I am. Dr. Chen nods and opens a drawer, removing another file. We created a controlled narrative for you, one where your childhood bully was the worst thing that ever happened to you. We needed an antagonist figure, and Brandon volunteered for the role. Brandon volunteered? I repeat, confused. The door opens, and Brandon steps in. Not the frightened man I glimpsed in the waiting room yesterday, but someone confident, familiar, someone who knows me. Hey, Marcus, he says quietly. Show him, Dr. Chen says to Brandon. Brandon pulls out his phone and brings up a photo. It's us much younger, maybe 10 years old, arms around each other's shoulders, grinning in front of Roosevelt Middle School. We've been best friends since 3rd grade, Brandon says. We went to Roosevelt together, not Lincoln. Those blue lockers, you remember? They're from a TV show we used to watch. Your mind incorporated them into your constructed memories. My head spins. But the letter you apologized for bullying me. That was part of the treatment, Dr. Chen explains. The letters were designed to introduce controlled inconsistencies that would slowly help your real memories resurface. Brandon's letter mentioned specific details that weren't part of your constructed narrative, like Oakwood Drive and the arcade. Those were triggers meant to slowly reactivate neural pathways to your authentic memories. But it went wrong, Brandon adds. You stopped taking your medication. He gestures to the prescription bottles I found in my air vent. The memory stabilizers were supposed to make the transition gradual. Without them, you're experiencing a complete collapse of your constructed identity. Dr. Chen turns her monitor again, pulling up what looks like brain scans. These are your scans from yesterday when you fled. The areas associated with your constructed memories are shutting down, while your original memory centers are reactivating chaotically. This is dangerous, Marcus. I press my palms against my eyes, trying to process everything. If we were friends, why would I agree to have you cast as my bully? Why would you agree to that? Brandon's eyes fill with tears. Because I was there when it happened. You associated me with the trauma, even though I tried to help. Making me the villain in your new narrative was actually therapeutic. It gave your mind a simpler explanation for why you felt afraid around me. When what happened? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. Dr. Chen and Brandon exchange a look. She nods slightly. I think it's time. She presses a button on her desk. Can you bring in the Roosevelt file, please? A moment later, an assistant enters with a thick folder. Dr. Chen opens it and removes a series of photographs. School pictures, sports team photos, family snapshots, all showing me and Brandon together throughout our childhood. Roosevelt Middle School, not Lincoln, appears in the background of many. These are your real memories, Marcus, she says gently. The birthday party at the park, not the skating rink. Amanda, not Jessica. All the details you've been questioning. I flip through the photos, feeling dizzy. Each image contradicts a memory I thought was real, replacing it with something unfamiliar yet undeniably authentic. 6 months ago, Dr. Chen continues, you experienced a violent episode. You became convinced that everyone around you was an imposter, including Brandon and your brother, Dave. She pulls up another video on her computer. The timestamp shows a date exactly 6 months ago. The footage is from a security camera in what looks like a hospital room. I'm strapped to a bed, thrashing violently, screaming at someone off camera. You're not Brandon. Where's the real Brandon? What did you do to him? My recorded self shrieks. The camera angle shifts to show Brandon standing nearby, his face devastated as he watches me struggle against the restraints. This is called Capgras delusion, Dr. Chen explains. It's sometimes triggered by severe trauma. Your brain was trying to protect you by convincing you that the people connected to your traumatic memories weren't real. I stare at the screen, watching myself break down completely. What happened to me? I ask again, my voice cracking. Dr. Chen takes a deep breath. Marcus, the reason we created the narrative about Brandon bullying you was to give your mind a safer explanation for your fear response around him. The truth is much worse. Brandon moves closer, sitting in the chair beside me. We were at my house, he says softly. It was a normal Saturday. We were playing video games in my room when we heard the front door break open. My heart begins to race. Something dark stirs in the back of my mind. 3 men came in, Brandon continues. They were looking for my dad. He was a prosecutor, working on a big drug trafficking case, but he wasn't home. Images flash through my mind, fragmented, terrifying. A baseball bat in the hallway, Brandon's mother screaming, running downstairs. They found us upstairs, Brandon says, his voice breaking. They held us at gunpoint, demanding to know where my dad kept his case files. My mom tried to protect us. Stop, I whisper, but the memories are coming faster now, breaking through whatever walls Dr. Chen's treatment built. They shot her in the kitchen, Brandon says, tears streaming down his face. You saw everything, Marcus. You were standing right there. When they turned the gun on me, you grabbed a knife from the counter and I stabbed him. I finish. The memory suddenly crystal clear. I stabbed the man with the gun. There was so much blood. Dr. Chen nods. You saved Brandon's life, but you witnessed extreme violence. The man you stabbed didn't die, but he was seriously injured. The other 2 fled. You were both hospitalized for shock. The full horror of that day comes rushing back, the sounds, the smells, the terror. Brandon's mother on the kitchen floor. The look in the gunman's eyes as I drove the knife into his shoulder. The wail of sirens. After that, Brandon says, you couldn't look at me without having panic attacks. You kept saying my face was wrong, that I wasn't the real Brandon. The trauma had rewired your brain. That's when you came to us, Dr. Chen adds. Traditional therapy wasn't working. You couldn't function. The memory replacement was experimental, but you were desperate. I look at Brandon through new eyes, seeing both my childhood friend and the trigger for my trauma. You agreed to be part of this? To let me think you were my bully? He nods. I would have done anything to help you. You saved my my life, Marcus. The weight of these revelations is too much. The room starts to spin, and black spots dance in my vision. The last thing I hear is Dr. Chen calling for assistance as my constructed reality finally shatters completely, and the truth I tried so hard to forget reclaims my mind. I wake to the sensation of something cold against my temples. My eyelids feel impossibly heavy, but I force them open. White ceiling tiles come into focus, then the steady beep of monitoring equipment. I try to move my hands, but they feel weighted down. He's waking up, a voice says Dr. Chen. I turn my head slightly and see her standing beside a bank of monitors. Brandon is there too, hovering anxiously near the door. I'm back in a treatment room at the institute, electrodes attached to my head, an IV in my arm. What happened? My voice comes out raspy, unfamiliar. Dr. Chen approaches, checking one of the monitors. Your mind experienced what we call a cascade integration. When traumatic memories resurface too quickly, the brain can essentially short circuit. You've been unconscious for nearly 18 hours. 18 hours. The realization hits me that an entire day has passed, while my mind processed the truth. Brandon's mother bleeding out on the kitchen floor. The man with the gun. The knife in my hand. It wasn't a dream, was it? I ask, though I already know the answer. Brandon steps closer. No, it wasn't. The weight of reality presses down on me. Two sets of memories now occupy my mind. The constructed narrative where Brandon bullied me at Lincoln Middle School, and the truth. We were best friends at Roosevelt. Inseparable until the day violence shattered everything. I remember both versions now, I say, pressing my palms against my eyes. It's like having two different lives in my head. Explain it is also. Dr. Chen nods, making notes on her tablet. That's actually a good sign. Complete integration is our goal. The question is which set of memories you want to keep dominant. I stare at her, not understanding. What do you mean? She sets down her tablet and pulls up a chair beside my bed. Marcus, you're at a crossroads now. We can continue the treatment, reinforce the constructed memories, suppress the trauma again. You'd return to your life with the bullying narrative intact, knowing intellectually what really happened, but not feeling the emotional impact. Or, I prompt when she pauses, or we can help you fully process and integrate your authentic memories. It would be painful, extremely painful, but eventually, you'd be able to live with the truth rather than running from it. Brandon moves to the other side of my bed. It's your choice, Marcus. Whatever you decide, I'm here. I study his face, the face that triggered such terror in me 6 months ago that I chose to erase my entire history. Now I see both versions of him superimposed. The bully who tormented me in my false memories, and the friend who stood by me through everything. Can I talk to Brandon alone? I ask Dr. Chen. She nods. Of course, I'll be right outside. She disconnects some of the monitoring equipment before leaving the room. When the door closes, Brandon pulls the chair closer to my bed. This is weird, huh? For months, you've hated me based on memories that never happened. I'm sorry, I say, the words inadequate for what he's been through. He shakes his head. Don't be. After what happened, you couldn't even look at me without having panic attacks. Every time you saw my face, you relived watching my mom die. His voice catches. The memory replacement was the only way we could save our friendship. The letters, I say, remembering. They were part of the treatment? Brandon nods. Dr. Chen designed this whole protocol around memory reconsolidation. The letters were supposed to introduce controlled inconsistencies details that didn't match your constructed narrative. It was meant to slowly wake up your real memories without triggering a complete breakdown. But I stopped taking the medication, I realize. Yeah, you hid the pills in the air vent. We didn't know until it was too late. I stare at the ceiling, trying to process everything. The man who looked like you in the waiting room yesterday, that was you, wasn't it? You were there for my appointment. I've been coming to all your sessions, Brandon confirms. Usually I wait in a separate room while Dr. Chen monitors your progress. Yesterday was supposed to be a breakthrough day, the first time we tried direct contact since the treatment began. But when you saw me, something went wrong. I remembered, I whisper. Not everything, but enough to know something wasn't right. Brandon reaches into his pocket and pulls out a folded piece of paper. There's something you should see. He unfolds it carefully and hands it to me. It's a consent form, dated 6 months ago, with my signature at the bottom. But what catches my eye is the video link printed in the corner. What's this? I ask. Dr. Chen recorded everything. Every decision you made about the treatment. She wanted to make sure you'd understand later, if the memories ever resurfaced. Brandon pulls out his phone and types in the link. A video begins playing me, sitting in Dr. Chen's office, looking exhausted and hollow-eyed. I can't keep living like this, video me says. Every time I see Brandon, I see his mother dying all over again. I see the knife in my hand. I can't sleep. I can't function. I need these memories gone. Dr. Chen's voice comes from off camera. You understand this is experimental? We'd be creating an entirely new narrative for your relationship with Brandon. I understand. Make him the villain if that helps. Make him someone I can face without falling apart. I hand the phone back to Brandon, my throat tight. I chose this. You were the first person the treatment actually worked on, Brandon explains. Before you, they'd only had partial success with memory replacement, but something about your brain chemistry made you the perfect candidate. You became their primary integration subject. That's what was in my file. I remember. But why did you agree to this? To let me think you were someone who hurt me for years. Brandon's eyes fill with tears. Because I couldn't lose you twice. I already lost my mom. You were the only one who was there, who understood what happened. And suddenly you couldn't even look at me. He wipes his eyes. When Dr. Chen explained the treatment, I volunteered immediately. I didn't care what role I had to play, as long as you could be in my life again. The door opens and Dr. Chen returns, carrying a tablet. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to know what you've decided, Marcus. Which path do you want to take? I look between them, Dr. Chen, with her clinical compassion, Brandon with his unwavering loyalty. For the first time in 6 months, I feel like I'm seeing clearly. I want both, I say finally. Dr. Chen raises an eyebrow. Both? I don't want to erase either set of memories. The constructed ones helped me survive when the truth was too much to bear, but I can't keep running from what actually happened. I take a deep breath. I want to integrate everything, the truth and the narrative that protected me from it. Dr. Chen studies me for a moment, then nods. It won't be easy. The trauma is severe, and reconciling contradictory memory sets is complex. But if anyone can do it, it's you. Your brain has already shown remarkable adaptability. 6 months later, I stand at the entrance to the Riverside Memory Institute, not as a patient, but as a staff member. My employee badge reads, Marcus Brennan, Peer Integration Specialist. Brandon walks beside me, carrying coffee for both of us. Ready for the new patient? He asks. I nod. Karen Williams, 34, witnessed a mass shooting at her workplace. Traditional therapy hasn't helped. Like you, Brandon says quietly. Like me, I agree. The past 6 months have been the hardest of my life, harder than the initial trauma in some ways. Integrating my contradictory memories meant reliving the horror while simultaneously holding onto the protective narrative. There were nights I woke up screaming, confused about which version of my life was real. Days when I couldn't tell if Brandon was my friend or my enemy. But slowly, with Dr. Chen's guidance, I learned to hold both realities in my mind, understanding one was constructed, but appreciating how it saved me when the truth was too devastating to bear. Now I help others navigate the same journey. Not everyone chooses memory replacement, but for those who do, having someone who's been through it makes all the difference. As we walk through the institute hallways, no longer threatening but familiar, my phone buzzes with a notification. It's from my messaging app, a reminder of a scheduled delivery. What's that? Brandon asks, noticing my smile. The final letter, I say. It should arrive at my apartment today. Dr. Chen's treatment protocol included one last letter, one I wrote to myself 6 months ago, to be delivered after my integration was complete. I have no idea what it contains. That version of me, the one desperate enough to erase his own memories, is both me and a stranger. Nervous? Brandon asks as we reach the treatment room where Karen waits. I shake my head. Whatever I wrote, it's part of who I am, both versions of me. Brandon nods, understanding. He's been there through all of it. The bullying that never happened, the trauma that did, and everything since. Let's help Karen first, I say, reaching for the door. Then we'll see what I had to say to myself. As I step into the room to meet our new patient, I feel the weight of both my pasts, balanced within me, the constructed identity that gave me shelter, and the painful truth I finally found the strength to face. Not everyone gets the chance to choose which memories define them. I'm lucky enough to embrace them all.